Hey guys, welcome back. Better Than a Let's Play, episode 40 of season 2. I'm Igneous, and today we have all kinds of stuff on the go. We're here in the snowy fields with the icy trees, hunting blizzes. And there's a blizz there, in case you were wondering what a blizz is. It's very much like a blaze, except it's cold. It's more like a blizzard. And it drops blizz rods instead of blaze rods. So we need these blizz rods to convert to blizz dust as a component for our reactor as part of the cooling system. So there's a certain amount of farming going on in my world these days. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I realized as I was getting ready to put this episode together that we're on episode 40. Episode 40. And we've gone through 3 mod packs to get here, which is a lot. Normally, a season would be 1 mod pack, and then it becomes a new season because a new mod pack, we switch whatever. But the changes that we were making on the fly to different mod packs weren't because there was a new version out that was really exciting, or we were kind of exhausted our projects that we had going on, so that it was time to move on to something else. It was because things weren't working. And then, as part of this mod pack, we were talking in the last episode about the issues that I had with the Extra Cells fluid storage system. I was able to import all of my liquids into the hard drives so that all those tanks were condensed down into one block. It was fantastic, but then I couldn't get them out. I couldn't get the export bus to work. And I talked on Reddit, some people came up with some great ideas, some suggestions. I tried all of them, none of them worked, and it turns out that what I had probably done was used the wrong kind of drum with hydrogen in it, and that's why the system didn't recognize it and start exporting that fluid. What I had done is I had spawned in a drum of hydrogen because I looked around for the empty drum recipe and I couldn't find it. Just using NEI, I'd been doing enough Googling up to that point just to get to where I was. I wasn't about to start Googling for the drum recipe. And if you go for a list of the recipes for drums for extra utilities, it comes up with over 40 pages in NEI at the normal size for the GUI, over 40 pages. And I saw that as I was looking through it, and what I really want is the empty drum recipe, and I started looking through the whole thing for it. I didn't know if it was the name of it would be empty drum or if it was drum or some, I didn't know. And I saw how many there were. I said, screw that, I'm not looking for it. And I came across the hydrogen one. I said, I'll try this. It didn't work. I said, I'm done. I'm not wasting any more time on this. Had I used a proper empty drum and put it into the fluid access terminal and filled it with one of the liquids that I had in there, and then used that to put into the export bus to say, this is what I want you to export, it probably would have worked. From the feedback that I've been getting, some people have been great about pointing out, I've tried it, this is how I did it, and it worked for me. So if we're going to be critical of mods for this, that, or the other reason, I think it's also very important to be fair, and if I make a mistake, an oversight, or an omission of some sort, to point out that, hey, you know what, it really wasn't that bad. So if you want to give the extra utilities, extra cells, ME fluid storage system a go, it sounds like it does work. So don't take my previous experience for it. Just remember, you're going to need extra materials from other mods to get it to. Never mind. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about in line with that is having gone through 3 mod packs, I've been pretty liberal with the spawning in of certain things that I had in previous worlds, right? So when we were working with the monster pack or whatever, we moved to the Moon Quest pack. I spawned in things that I had in the monster pack world because why not? It saves me the trouble of having to go gather the materials and put it all together again, and I didn't feel bad about it at all. When we moved from Moon Quest to the Yogg's Cast Complete pack, it was the same thing. You could tell my power suit is pretty much the same as what I've had through the Moon Quest pack and Monster, but I haven't actually put together a whole new power suit from scratch. That's, you know, just an example. But one of the things that I take very seriously, just to put your mind at ease for the stuff that we've got going on moving forward, is that it's really important for me when we're taking on these bigger projects to be able to speak with credibility about what it's like. So when we're putting together this reactor and the time that it's taking to farm up all the materials for all the different components, if I'm just spawning in those materials, I can't say to you guys, it was a total drag, it was horrible, it was unrealistic, don't do it this big unless you've got bajillions of hours free, and I just spawned them all in. That's the worst kind of dishonesty, because then you're possibly going to take that and allow it to influence your decisions about what you take on that you may or may not enjoy. So just to keep it simple, for stuff like this, I don't spawn in anything. We're here farming the Blizz rods. When it comes to the cryothium, we'll show you the recipe for that in a little bit. If I need more saltpeter, I'm going to go mine the saltpeter. I know where to get lots, but I'm still going to go get it. Whatever we need, I'm going to get the legitimate way, and then when it's all said and done, I can say, we got it done, and it was this, that, or the other thing in terms of the entertainment value. And you can decide for yourself if you want to go give it a shot or not. The same goes with anything else moving forward. I've got all the machines that I need to give things a go. If it turns out I need more, I can make them. I've got the materials. I can make most anything. And we're going to start looking, once we get the reactor up and running, we're going to start looking at some automated heavy-duty mining options anyways. So it's not likely to be a huge issue for farming or for whatever, as opposed to spawning things in. But I just wanted to clarify, because sometimes people do get a little bit concerned, like, do I have to spawn this stuff in order for it to be viable, or is this actually a project that I can take on? So there's that. Now, all of this running around isn't for nothing. We do have a reactor that is getting closer and closer every day to being functional. So we're going to head back to the base and take a look at what we've got so far. Now this is what all of this Blizz hunting is about. See here, this is our reactor that was all closed in. It was all complete. If you had clicked on the control unit, it would have said it's ready to go, except for no fuel. But we have to add in coolant and things. Basically, we've got a number of blocks of gold in here. They go from the top all the way down to the bottom. You can see there. That handle, I believe, it's heat transfer between the fuel rods, so that it would be kind of evenish all the way across, something like that. They serve a purpose, and you can go, I think it's like copper, iron, gold, and then diamond. Maybe not copper, maybe there's just 3. Diamond is the best. I went with gold because I don't have enough diamond to do 21 blocks. Not yet. Gold I did have enough, so that's what I did. And then in between, you can see we've got a fluid of some sort. In this case, I went with liquid ender. Now, I'm pretty sure that this fluid in between the fuel rods, as you can see, is managing the heat transfer between these rows of fuel rods, so that they'll be relatively even and everything will be happy and hunky-dory. Again, I'm not giving you specific information because I'm not that interested in it to go super specific. I just know that you want a liquid of some sort in between these stacks of control rods and fuel rods, and the blocks of metal. And then around the outside edge, you want another kind of liquid. It can be water, it can be whatever you want, really. Probably not lava. And that controls the heat transfer from all of the stuff that's going on here to the outer casing. Now, that much I do remember, and there's something significant about that. I think the outer casing, the lower its temperature stays, the more efficient the reactor is. I think that's what it is, but I do remember that the liquid in the outer perimeter is there to control the transfer of heat from the inside area with all the fuel rods to the outer casing that you can see there. So what I've done, again, is the liquid ender, and I love this stuff because if you fall into it, it teleports you away. I don't know how it determines where you go. I just know that it's like an enderman, basically. You get to be an enderman for a day. The outer perimeter is cryothium. This is what we use the Blizz rods for. is let's just take a look at the process. It's not horrible, but it's kind of like Liquid Ender, only worse. We have gelid cryothium bucket. Okay, so we want these so that we can carry these buckets and put them in the casing. And in order to make these, we have this cryothium dust. You put a cryothium dust in a magma crucible, it gets converted into gelid cryothium at the rate of 100 millibuckets per guy. So it's 6.4 buckets per stack of cryothium dust. Quite a lot of cryothium dust you need in order to have any significant sort of quantity of gelid cryothium. The cryothium dust is made with a snowball, saltpeter, blizz powder, and redstone. Makes 2. That's kind of where you get kicked in the junk. Is the saltpeter is not bad. I've had enough accumulated that I haven't had to specifically go out and mine any, and if I can stand the lag in the nether around those super ore deposits, both top and bottom, I've discovered, it's not difficult to get saltpeter. But the blizz powder is quite tricky to get because, as you've seen, all you can do is run around and look for blizzes in icy areas, shoot them, hope they drop a blizz rod, and then you can, it says here, if you just put it in a crafting grid, you'll get 2, but if you put it in a pulverizer, you'll get 4. So it makes a lot of sense to put blizz rods in pulverizers and not just put them in a crafting grid and take the 2 out, because you'll be doubling your yield by putting in a pulverizer. And that's what we get, is we, work our way through the steps to get gelid cryothium in a bucket. We put it in a magma crucible, the dust, and then we feed the liquid into a liquid transposer, which fills the bucket. And then you come over here and you put the bucket in here. But there's one thing that I did not anticipate when I started this process, and that's the gelid cryothium doesn't behave as a normal liquid. A normal liquid, you'd be able to put a source block here from your bucket, and then another one here, and another one here, and another one here, and it would all flow down to the bottom of the reactor, and then Bob's your uncle, these 4 columns would be filled with liquid. The gelid cryothium behaves more like a slow-moving block of sand or gravel. You place one, and it goes down until it hits another solid block or block of gelid cryothium, and then it stops. So in a reactor this size, that means we need to have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buckets of gelid cryothium to fill 1 column. That's right. That's why we're not done filling this thing up, is because we need a lot of gelid cryothium. You can see here I've got 3 complete columns for sure. I don't know this one how many source blocks we've got. It's really difficult to tell once you've placed 2, because you can see here it looks like it's got a, it does have a source block up top, and then it's flowing down this way, but these could all be flowing blocks, and there could be no source blocks in here at all. So the only way to make sure that I get it right is to just keep adding buckets until the top one stays level across the top and not sloped like that. And that's when we know that that column is full. So 7 times 7 is 49. So 98 for 2 sides, and then 5 times 35, 168 buckets. Just math off the top of my head we need total to fill this thing up. But the upside is you get to see how it's coming together, because we haven't filled it all in. So you can see the gold, you can see the liquid ender, and then you can see how the cryothium is going into place. And also, because I'm not spawning in all of the blizz rods, which would be a very valid temptation, I can speak to what the process is like to build a reactor of this size without taking any shortcuts. And so far, it's been a process. It's definitely been a process. I can't say I dislike the process, although right now we're settled into the heavy-duty grind. That's all that's left, is the heavy-duty grind. Farming up all of these blizz rods so that we can finish filling the outer casing. I've got plenty of yellorium, yellorium ingots, and I've got some more inside as well that I can use to fill the fuel rods when everything is all said and done. It's just getting things all said and done in here. So that's what I've been working on, is kind of getting this filled up and then thinking about what we were going to do with the front and continuing on with that. And with that in mind, I've got a little bit of time lapse, a little bit of a build for you to take a look at. And then we'll see what we can do with the reactor in the next episode. I think at this stage we kind of have to have a time lapse in every episode, just because it's a nice break from all the tech stuff that may or may not work, or that may or may not be done. In this case, we've got our outdoor area where we're going to be doing our magic at some point in the future, the not too distant future, and it's kind of betraying the laws of gravity. It's not just defying them, it's betraying them. The way we had that long sort of oblong walkway hanging out in the middle of nowhere with 3 large marble circular platforms built off of it. So I decided to build some pillars. Fairly simple in design. We're not going out of our way to make them look super round. But something interesting would be nice. And we're using the concrete again, the weathered concrete and the things of that nature, because it looks structural and it looks well used. Kind of, most people can attest, if you go to a bridge or something like that, the understructure never looks as good as what's up top. So that's what we're doing. We're kind of building these in place and filling them out with the various different micro blocks and things to make them look like they're not quite entirely Minecrafty, but they're still Minecrafty enough to belong with everything else. So it's actually nothing complicated. I think the smallest block that I use in any of this is a pillar. So you cut a block into a slab and then you cut it in half with a saw to make the pillar shape. It's a quarter of a block, and everything else is either a slab or a full block. So that's kind of cool. Very, very easy, quick and easy to put it into place. And then one of the things that I wanted to make sure I was doing was building in some sort of light at some point so that we can try and stem the flow of monsters around the place. So if we put in some lights and then put some walls or fence or something around the pillars to keep the monsters from accumulating underneath, then that's kind of a good outcome and something that we're going to focus on. So there's not much more to say about it. It's 3 pillars. The time lapse speaks for itself. We're going to let you finish watching the construction, then we're going to take a little fly around so that you can see how everything is coming together. I've already got more ideas for what we're going to add to this before we even get started adding the magical components. So I'm going to stop yammering and you guys can watch this. Please, by all means, leave your comments and feedback in the appropriate section below. If you want to be notified when I add the next video, you can always subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on the social networks, Google Plus and Twitter. Links for that are in the information section below the video. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.
Thank you.